Huge news coming out today with regards to Square Enix. Embracer Group has bought a ton of the studios, Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and more. We're going to get into everything today on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Xbox A. I am Matt. That is Court. Court, happy Monday, sir. Big news coming out of gaming. How are you? What's going on today?
Dude, seriously, it's been Friday. Xbox announced their showcase for June. And this morning, the Embracer Group embraced Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a couple of big studios in there. And there's a lot of lingering questions that you and I were starting to get into as well, just with debt, as well as the potential of Marvel's Avengers, like we're playing right now, Guardians of the Galaxy, and more. But let's talk about this. This is coming from Video Games Chronicles. Embracer Group to buy Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and IPs including Tomb Raider for $300 million. Court, $300 million for the Western studios.
Very cheap, though.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like,
with all considering like the Bungie acquisition,
with everything we've seen, where I'm like, it's like
exactly
$1 billion here and $1 billion, and you see guys like
and
Musk
that is where they also bought their debt. There is no total. We don't know what that total is, but the Embracer Group bought the debt of Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, which could be a lot of money.
100 mil.
And let's look at it. They have bought these studios, so now they own the IPs. Tomb Raider,
Deus
they
Ex.
own the IPs. Deus Ex, they own Thief, and they own Legacy of Kain. That's added to the already what they have over at the Embracer Group. You have like your Hot Wheels Unleashed, you have your Borderlands. There's a lot of and then you have your THQ, all those games.
It's all the Nordic games, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the games I
love.
love.
They've been buying all the stuff.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people wanted, Xbox to pull the trigger on this bad boy, but I'm almost kind of.
You're
I don't
glad,
think they could have. Well, no, I'm reading. I've had two people tell me something. I've had a friend who does this for a living, acquisitions and mergers and stuff, and says, well, they technically could, but he says it probably wouldn't be a good idea given all the scrutiny and everything that's going on their deal that is going to close fiscal year 2023.
For the audience at home, I'm stupid. Gort, what does fiscal mean?
Fiscal means September 2022 to June 2023. I know a lot of people, I don't know what it is. Everywhere I see, everybody keeps saying June 2023 is when it'll close, or closer to June 2023. I went and looked it all up today just to clarify. Xbox continually says it is fiscal year 2023. The shareholders have approved on both the Microsoft side and on the Activision Blizzard side unanimously to have the purchase go through. So it can happen anytime between September 2022 and June 2023. Anytime. Not in June, not in September. Anytime. It can happen at any of those moments. So once that deal is done, and from what, besides Jason Schreier and his article that, whatever, I'm not in the privy to know all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I just called a friend who does it for a living, and he was like, it's probably going to go through. And that's just his opinion. That's just, he doesn't see, people would be mad about the Embracer Group thing. I don't know. I just don't understand. I think it was more of the side that it was Sony. If it was Sony, we wouldn't be hearing it as much, but because it's Xbox, everybody gets all antsy and angry about it. It's huge. It's a huge deal.
Yeah, it is a huge deal, and it's a lot of titles that you and I love. When we look at Deus Ex, Tomb Raider, even Legacy of Kain is a great, great game. The question mark, and I wonder if it will go through my gut knowing.
Well, no,
nothing.
this one, I don't think.
No, I meant I was going to say the Marvel's Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy.
That
piece.
is that has everything to do with IPs and who owns them, and we all know who that is. That's the Mickey Mouse. He owns the IPs. He decides who makes the games. So the contract would have been with those studios, but that contract becomes null and void now after the purchase. So that's up to Disney to. I don't know the language in the contract. It might not become null and void, but it would give Disney an out.
If they wanted to pull out of it with a game like Marvel's Avengers that didn't, for all accounts.
No, it's not even that.
or they just don't want to continue that.
It all depends on the wording in the contract. But I would think that this would give them an out. But that's up to them whether they want to pull out or not. I still think that Square, man, like Guardians of the Galaxy was phenomenal, and Square just, I don't know, man. Square just seems to just not care unless it's a JRPG.
Well, let's get into that a little bit because it does talk about that piece in the article or alludes to it. But like the total acquisition includes 1,100 employees across 3 studios in 8 locations around the world. So it's not it's a lot of people, but it's not gigantic, right? It's not this giant acquisition of 20,000 people. According to the Embracer, the total purchase price is $300 million on a cash and debt-free basis to be paid in full at closing. We talked about that, but going forward, the studio function comprise its studios in Japan, Square Enix External Studios, and Square Enix Collective. They oversee the studios which public franchises like Just Cause, Outriders, and Life is Strange. But there was a little bit more in here that was talking about what Square is looking to focus on. And it was, in a press release, Square Enix said the deal, quote, enables the launch of new businesses by moving forward with investments in the fields including blockchain, AI, and the cloud.
Oh, whoa. Did you forget to add NFTs in there?
I apologize. It wasn't in the article, but
that's a choice.
Getting a little bit out of gaming, stick with the JRPGs and the RPGs, and then get into NFTs and stuff.
You know what? Good, because they treated these properties like horse poop.
Yep.
And they didn't care about them. Well, I shouldn't say that, because I don't know that for a fact. But the perception was they just whatever, no matter what, they were like, this is gonna suck. So I'm happy the Embracer Group seems to take risks. They put out games. THQ is put out like so many different games. And
ton of licensed properties too that we love growing up, like the THQ games out there for Spider-Man and Avengers.
I saw something online. Someone put maybe the Embracer Group is setting themselves up to be like, hey, we're a little bit more attractive. Come by us.
I did think of that this morning reading through this article. Why would an Xbox not purchase this? Timing?
No,
but
timing 100%. But some people are saying Apple will purchase the Embracer Group. Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. I could have seen because of all the Xbox rumors forever. I think if the heat died down and all of that with Activision, those giant deals finishing off, this happens a year to 2 from now. Like you said, the Embracer Group looks really attractive on paper to be acquired, to go look at all the products, because it was not only all this. They did mention that there was like 50 back catalog games as well, on top of the ones we mentioned. So it's a huge amount, plus what they already got in the pipeline. I think that for a Apple, Microsoft, a Sony, now they're incredibly attractive for a purchase or partnership.
Yeah, they're it's almost like Embracer Group goes IP shopping, not studio shopping.
Yes, yeah.
Like, let's be honest here, Tomb Raider's the jewel.
Tomb Raider is, Deus Ex is pretty up there as well, but I think Tomb Raider is the crown jewel in that.
Yeah, they're one of my favorite franchises of all time. So we'll see. We'll see what this happens. We'll see, like, we're all, it's...
what do you want to see?
It's always this...
What do you want to see happen with all this, like, in 6 months, a year?
Well, everybody's talking about the Warner Brothers thing that's all happening now, because, like, they pretty much made it known, hey, come get this stuff. But once again, IPs don't always come with the studios. I just think we're going to get to a point where there's going to be 4 or 5 people that own everything. And it is what it is. People can cry, people can get mad, they can do whatever they want. It's not going to change anything. It's just the way it works.
But then you can have the big conglomerates of your Disneys to license out
Apple,
their... Yeah.
Exactly. Like, every time I hear someone complain about these mergers, I just think of that Grandpa Simpson, just old man screams at clouds. Like, who you complaining to? Who are you getting mad at? Like, just where? Like, stop being babies. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
It doesn't affect you. It doesn't.
It doesn't affect you. It's very true. But you know what? I think you made a good point on this. I think it gives a really good shot at games to get a little bit more love and care and attention. The Tomb Raiders, potentially a Marvel's Avengers, potentially a Guardians of the Galaxy that was, game of the year for so many people. I mean, for me, Marvel's Avengers should have done. Gangbusters didn't, and we don't need to get into that, but should have been better than it was.
I still think that was Square Enix. From all the tea leaves and every article you read, it sounds like Square Enix was the one who was like, so we're going to make you do this stuff. Because if you look at how amazing that story was of Kamala Khan, and then all of a sudden it just goes this other way, and you're like, what just happened?
And then
I
we had
feel
a
like
we had a roadmap for a year, and then it died.
But it was also like you could tell that the studio was like, here's what we want to do with this story. You had this compelling story. Those first couple levels were unbelievable.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden you do this level after Iron Man. It was like literally after Iron Man, it fell off a cliff.
It's like a
Once you found Iron Man, you started flying through and doing all these like multiplayer stuff. Like hold these 3 places. And I was like, what just what happened to the game with an amazing story? How did we get here?
And even when when Square was trying to talk about, here's the roadmap, we got all the way up to Black Panther, Spider-Man. They ended the year with Spider-Man, which was whatever. And then there was all the conversation from Square and the team to say, we have She-Hulk. There was Cap story in there too, I think. Or no, there was She-Hulk, and there was going to be a bunch of others that they were going to do. But Winter Soldier was one I was thinking of. They have a lot in the pipeline, and they're just
one of the most. How do you screw up one of the biggest movie franchises ever that people just threw their money at, and you had those assets, and you were like, you know what we should do? We should make it boring.
Going like a real boring playing hallways.
Let's just make you have like 4 or 5 different places and do the same thing over and over again and make it boring.
Oh, and we'll
also decide that the story is not going to make sense anymore, and we're just going to turn a different direction and no longer care about the character that you've been building up the whole time, and it's been amazing. No problem.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but this is going to be very interesting between this, where Sony is landing with Bungie, where Activision is with Xbox. The next year or two is going to be very interesting to see how things kind of level out, and I am excited, though, because Embracer Group, again, those IPs they acquire makes them attractive, but also to see what games they can pump out. Let us know in the comments below what do you guys think. Hit that like button as well if you enjoy the show here. We will come at you with more news, more updates, all the good stuff on the show, and we will see you later.